worst thing that happened in the last 50 years was integration. Because integration, although there was progress, it wasn't a lot of progress.
It was false.
Because those people back in the day,
It was false.
like my grandfather that had businesses with his brothers, and they catered, and they made good money, and they became, part of the elite and whatnot. But once integration happened, the businesses they ran that catered to black people disappeared. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Old Black Men Conversation. I am your co-host for the show, Brother David Harold Dundee III, aka Cool Breeze.
Cool Breeze. What's up, Cool Breeze? I'm the Will Cliff Barnes, and your other co-host. And just like to say, greetings to everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be seeing us, or what time of day. And so we were going to talk about
Go Dogs.
those Huskies. Yes, indeed.
Well, I think even though they allegedly were beaten.
I'm tired of people. Okay, real quick, nothing to do with the Huskies,
Right.
but that word allegedly just been hitting me in the face a lot lately, because people be like allegedly this, but it be stuff we have on video. Is it alleged when you can see it?
So
Well, yeah, because everybody can't see it.
Well,
Blind people should be counted in that.
but
Huh?
Nothing.
okay, but you still have people in our next generation or two that there are pictures, film, or whatever of the moon launch and the moon landing,
Okay.
but there's still people that say, supposedly, allegedly, rumor has it.
That's me, so I guess I'm a contradiction. I guess I contradicted everything I just said. Because I'm one of them people.
So the thing is, earlier we were discussing myths, and so the question was asked, how can it be alleged when it's on film?
Okay.
Just document.
Nah, man, they got editing. They got doctored.
Okay, but our film industry can create quite a lot of special effects and illusions and stuff, and present that as real.
Okay, now I said allegedly the Huskies lost to Michigan because there are sources out there, maybe the film is doctored, I don't know, but they're showing where allegedly some things took place that caused the Huskies to lose that were unfair. And those folks have done it to the point to where the championship committee has come out with a statement saying there was no cheating. That's why I said alleged.
Okay.
Well,
Good
but
digger.
the whole thing is, it's like, did they make this statement before or after people said that
After.
there was cheating?
After.
Or did they see it and be like,
Or did
we should
they
get
say,
ahead of this? And
We
be
better
like, nah.
we better get ahead of this, or
No, it was after.
okay? Because I mean, the thing is, there were some questionable calls.
But there's always questionable calls.
Okay,
Yeah.
now how does the UW Michigan championship compare to the Seahawks Steelers Super Bowl of 2005. Now you remember
There was
questionable
a lot of-
calls,
yeah, a lot
and
of
then
questions.
4 years later,
Right.
it was like, okay, yeah, we
We
you think
made
that's
that.
going to happen
Yeah,
with this game
yeah, I do.
down the line?
I do because look, you see what the final score was. It was a
Right.
3-touchdown lead, right? A 3-touchdown final score. But that's not the reality of the game. The game up until the last 5 minutes was a 1-touchdown game with UW driving.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't. The final score is not a reflection of what actually happened on the field. So the alleged cheating could be there because
Well, you know, there was one instance. I'm watching the game, and I see like the UW player is trying to go this way, and the Michigan player had a hold of his jersey, pulling it this way, and you could see it right there in front of God and everybody, and it was a no call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's and also now, UW did drop a few things pass wise,
yeah, but that's
but it
because
shouldn't have made that much of a difference.
nah. But I look at it like this. What I was seeing when I saw the very first play of the game, I went, oh shit. Because the reality is those big cow-fed
Corn-fed.
monsters from the Midwest came out there with in mind to kick the living daylights out the Huskies and just keep on doing it till they broke down. And they were doing that. They were kicking their butts.
Well, yeah, but then we came back, we scored, and we.
But you're sure, but
then
they
we
kept
kicked the
kicking.
field goal,
But they
yeah.
still was kicking the butts. They still was getting to the quarterback,
Big
and no
time.
matter what, he was taking a beating.
That's this
A
week. A
beating
lot of times he was running for his life.
all the time.
Very true. Very few times was there a clean pocket with what was supposed to be one of
Sure,
the
and
top offensive lines in
right,
America.
and they were, but those cow-fed people from the Midwest, they had cows in their mouth, cows in their butt.
Well,
they was just stamped.
So I
straight
mean, what is
ahead.
it? What is it more? Do you think that UW was cheated, or you think they just got their butt beat?
They got their butts beat.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that the outcry up to this point has been so loud that, like he said, maybe down the road they'll go, oh yeah, we just missed that or whatever, you know.
That happened in that 05 Super Bowl. Against
But
the Steelers, so-
that actually brings up to me another point. I think that the new Seahawks coach, Bipede, is gonna be the now ex-Michigan coach, Khaki Harbaugh.
Boo! All right, I'm gonna jump in front of the camera one more time. I have this thing about Jim Harbaugh. I really hate his pants. I understand that sounds crazy, but it irritates me to no end, and I don't want him here. I sound crazy. It irritates me.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, it's now that Nick Saban is gone, maybe Harbaugh wants to stay there and build, his own little dynasty.
Well, hell no, he done accomplished. He done got the college championship. Now he want the one that's eluded him, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true, because they didn't do well when he was coaching.
Well,
San
they
Francisco.
did well, but they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did just enough to annoy me.
Yeah, they went.
It just was like, ugh.
I mean, he was the man that had the nerve to actually trade the quarterback that was doing well for the 49ers and start calling
Colin.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Colin, yes.
Colin was you know, pretty good.
yeah, he was, but
You know,
but you know, he got thrown into the fire and he responded.
Well,
But when he took that knee, you know what happened then. You know, he's been Caucasian bald.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that a way to say blackballed by white people?
There you go.
Okay, just curious.
Hey, now, okay, here's a question. If now it's been how many years since he's played? 6?
At least.
A number of years.
At least.
7,
he's
something like
he's
that.
a peer, the guy that flew in last night for peace celebration. They came at the same time.
So
Russell.
Oh.
if Colin were to get on a team right now,
I think he'd be trash.
think he'd be trash? Think he lost it after all this
It's
time?
been too long. He's been out too long. It's not like Deshaun Watson, who's out a year.
A year. However,
I mean, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
absolutely. And the thing is, you know, your skills are not as sharp because you're not practicing and playing against NFL.
Right.
Quality players.
And the one thing is, I know that he would have a hard time getting used to is the speed. Cause them boys be moving.
He's lost a step, obviously.
Well, I'm not that he's lost a
as
step.
every
I'm
people-
just saying the speed of the game.
Exactly. And
Yeah, but
and that's-
if he hasn't lost the step, and then which we don't know, I mean, you would assume because it's been so long. But I know at least when it was around like the 3-4 years out of the league, I know he was still doing his practice, his workouts every day.
Right.
But yeah, taking a hit though ain't the same.
And then also, like you were saying, the speed of the game. Now, if you lose a step, which people, I mean, outside of LeBron James, I don't know too many people who played at the professional level of their sport, just as well as when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
See, and so.
Well,
As we get
that's
older-
because they smoke too much weed, man. I mean, you know.
Man, that don't hurt nobody.
I'm not saying but I think it's slowing you down.
But the deal is, the difference between is LeBron has continued to play as he got older and as the game changed and progressed, he is lucky enough, blessed enough to be able to change with it to play. You have what's his face, Tom Brady. You know, there aren't that many athletes that can play on that level that long. So if you're away from it for 6-7 years,
Which is some people's whole career.
and you have to say that the game has progressed year after year after year. You got guys that are faster. You have defensive linemen running 5-second 40s.
Yeah, Cat Williams.
I was about to say, Cat Williams said he do it in 4.7 or something like that.
No, he said 4-6.
So did you guys see the video of him running?
Yeah.
No.
So here's the thing. So he did that interview, and then a couple days later, it was like 3 a.m. in a community center gym, and this dude's running, and he passes. Then the camera cuts. Then it comes back, and another dude who was recording holds up the phone, and it says 4 point whatever.
Right.
Boy, I was watching a podcast yesterday, and they was talking. They said, okay, Cat says he runs this fast. First of all, how long is a gym basketball court? Not even an NBA court.
Oh, and
It's like 94 feet, and he's like, but when you look at yards, that's only 30 yards. So first of all, you didn't run 40 yards. And second, you're supposed to have the camera on the timer and see, you can't just be like, run. See, I told you. It's like, no.
But hey, you know, as you say, it's like if Colin came back today. I mean, the thing is, he never even tried out for the spring leagues.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
XFL, USFL, which is now merging.
Yeah. Well, you know what? My understanding is, listen to all the chatter and this and that. is that he actually got some money, and part of the deal was the money that he got because they paid him.
Well,
they paid
yeah.
him because it was discrimination or whatever. But part of the deal was you can't come back and play for a certain amount of time. You can try out, but you can't play. So all of that trying out was a publicity thing for the league, showing how gracious they were in letting him try out. But they had paid him not to make a team.
Well, hey, you know, that's,
But you know, that's a salary.
well, that's nice work if you can do it.
Yeah.
The worst if I would pay me not to do something.
I mean, he gave $1 million the other way to charities.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I was like-
you know, it's not a financial monetary thing. It's just the fact that when you get right down to it, they blackballed him.
Yeah.
He couldn't, you know, he couldn't try. He couldn't make any team.
Right.
Very few teams were even willing to give him a tryout.
But you got to admit now, come on. He would have beat out Gino to the max if they actually let him. I mean, now,
Well,
2
yeah.
years ago, whenever that was, he could have beat out Gino.
But still
Or
in
even
all,
back him up. You know what I mean?
but still in all, if they don't want him, if they don't want him to be associated with the league at all, a lot of things can be said. There was times when he was out for like 1 or 2 years, and the quarterbacks that were starting, he could have beat out a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it seems very likely that they blackballed him because they didn't want him to be the face of the league or even be close to it or even be acknowledged.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And then it's because Don, because the Don didn't want him in there.
Well, evidently,
Yeah.
because that's why he turned not only the NFL but America against him.
Yeah.
Okay, and so quiet as it's kept, he has a lot of followers. I used to think America was really one of the smartest countries in the world until that time.
I never did. That's why I never followed anybody.
No, well, but the whole thing is,
Because if Americans following or Americans doing this, there's something wrong with it. I'll back up.
exactly. But the whole thing is, all of those things came together to allow the NFL to blackball a player simply because of his activism.
Yeah, you know, and it's hypocrisy because, you know what? I don't know if y'all caught this, but LeBron went to his son's game at USC a couple of weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they played the national anthem. Everybody stood up with their heart over their hands, and he sat there.
Who, LeBron?
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, and the explanation was, well, whenever he comes in a certain way because he has people with him, and then he goes and he sits down. That's what he does every time. It just so happened this time the national anthem was played before when he normally got there, the national anthem had already been played.
Yeah.
This time it wasn't. So he sat down.
So, wow, yeah. Well,
But there wasn't a big outcry about it. Like with lynch him, there was a little of it, but they shut it up real fast. Because he got that kind of money.
But when we were...
Well, I don't. Okay, real quick. I don't know if it's because he got that kind of money. Because when he didn't say anything there, nobody said nothing. But when he does say something, people be jumping and talking about the shut up and dribble, or when he got when nigger sprayed on his fence.
Right.
They was like, "Shut up, you're rich. You shouldn't complain." Like, being rich doesn't insulate you. Well, it does. Let me back up.
Right.
Being rich does insulate you to a certain point, but I am also of the belief that being rich and black, your insulation only goes so far.
It depends on your color.
Well, the thing is, it don't
Black.
have- it don't
That's the
have-
color.
it
I know
don't-
somebody who is black
And
and they go to extreme means to not be identified
Well, that's
by the
different.
public as black.
Okay, that's a whole different scenario though.
Yeah.
We're just talking about just a. I say regular, but
well, you have.
hold on. Okay, I say regular, but when you're rich, you're not really regular. On a general scale.
You have all of these ball players that are making ridiculous amounts of money and they're rich, but they choose not to be in the spotlight about their station in life, as opposed to being in the spotlight for being a major star in a particular sport or endeavor. And you just don't hear a lot about them until they say, okay, I want this out or you know that. Because there's a lot of really, really, really rich black people that no one knows about.
Right, and this was my point, and take that another step. There are still, to this day, 2024, places where if you're black, they will try to kill your ass because you live here or you live there, and you don't live over there with the other blacks. That's why I'm saying this particular person I'm thinking of goes to that extreme, not to be identified as black because he knows the consequences if he is identified as black. And he is not super rich, but he's rich enough to be with the rich folk.
What does he identify as?
Yeah.
He identifies himself as black, but he doesn't want anybody, his neighbors.
I
for
think
example.
that's a personal problem on him then. I think he has the problem. If you're somewhere and you're living somewhere, you've chosen to live this place, but you have taken on the identity of, well, I can't let these people know me. No, I let them know the persona because I don't want no trouble. Why are you even there?
Yeah.
If you live there, that's supposed to be a place you could be yourself. Now, I mean, if you're just a jacked up individual, everybody gonna judge you. But if you're just a black person and be like, I'm black and this is where I want to live, yet your surrounding areas make you feel like you have to change that,
Right.
Why would you even want to be there? Now, I get it. There's the whole, I'm an American, I'm free, I should be able to go where I want. That's absolutely a fact. But then there's that other half of it is like, why would you want to go somewhere where you are uncomfortable? It's like, there are a lot of places on this earth.
Correct. But let me tell you something. When this house right here was purchased, brand new, she was one of them. And my younger brother was one of them. They actually, now they weren't the only ones. There was another black family down the block, around the corner down there. But they could not walk 2 blocks or 3 blocks without being accosted because they weren't supposed to be here, because this was one of those areas and they were too dark to be here.
So my question, when you have that type of scenario, and trust me, I hear you and I understand, because a kid can't choose. You know, it's the parents are deciding where you live, so a kid has nothing to do with that. And so being walking down the street and not being able to do that because of the neighborhood, I hear that. So my question is now, I guess, as black folks, because we black talking about that.
Right.
When should you choose to be the sacrificial lamb for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish? And when do you say, I can't live my whole life trying to be the example and have a terrible...
I don't think, I don't think, now I could be wrong, I don't think that was my parents' mindset because black back then, if you remember in the late 60s up to the mid 70s,
Yeah.
there was a thing going on in this area called redlining,
Oh, for sure.
which is where they actually plotted to say, okay, you black, you can only go here.
So is
You
that?
can't buy there. You can't buy here. You gotta buy right here.
Well, I remember that in Seattle.
It was out here.
You know,
it was
well,
everywhere.
that's what I'm doing. Say, I remember that in Seattle, the specific part that was happening, but it was happening all over in the suburbs because back in them days there was a thing that was referred to as white flight.
Yeah.
So when black families started moving in, they took the hell off. You know. But there is one thing I want to get back to when you were talking about the person that you know not wanting anybody to know he's black.
Listen.
But how can they not if you're black?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand.
You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me clarify that.
Please.
This person's mixed.
Okay. So they're
Like-
very
like-
fair skinned.
like-
So
like-
they're fair skinned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Yeah, really, I had a black person in my head. He was like, they don't want anybody to know they're black. I'm like, you're black.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't. Okay, they're mixed.
I mean, you know, I grew up early part of my life in New Orleans, and there were so many Creole
Creoles.
people that the term that they was using is they could pass. Okay, I mean, I had a when I was in 3rd grade, I had a teacher, and she was very fair-skinned, and for all intents and purposes, when you look at her, you would say, "Oh, that's a young white woman."
Yeah.
But she chose to be a fair-skinned black woman because she taught at our school, which at that time was all black. So I can see how you're saying, oh, you can choose
Yeah.
to not to let them know.
Yeah. And it's not like his wife there's no doubt.
Right?
And the son, there's no doubt.
Okay.
I mean, they look, well, the son looked like he's the man. He's kind of on the borderline.
Right? I mean,
But
hey, you remember my mom. You remember how fair-skinned she was.
yeah.
Okay? But she wasn't fair-skinned enough to pass.
Right.
Okay? So we had a lot of people in New Orleans. There was a lot of people that I interacted with through my grandfather and you know, my parents and grandparents and stuff. And you go through life downtown New Orleans. You talk about 50 Shades of Gray, you have 50 Shades of Black.
Yeah.
Okay, on the real side.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but by the same token, me personally, I wouldn't want to live like that. I wouldn't want to make people force me into pretending to be something I'm not.
I get that.
But I'm talking personally. I'm
Yeah.
not talking that he's right or he's wrong or
Right.
no. I'm talking about me. If I were in a position where I had to, you know, it's like me being who I am, and you know the color that I am. I can't pretend to not be black. I can pretend to be foreign.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean,
and foreign people of color with their accent, they are accepted by the white society more so than
If you got.
I mean,
I would
listen,
be.
I understand somebody who's mixed and having kind of a identity crisis. I really can, just because having two different cultures, regardless of what black, white, or any other races, having two different cultures, and growing up and assuming, trying to get to know both sides. I can understand there being an identity, crisis of identity. I guess the one thing I can't latch onto, and maybe it's because I don't have a mixed background like that, is whatever I feel like whatever I am identifying as, I can't see how people let other people influence them to change that. Now, changing as you grow, we all do that. So you can, let's just say black and white, you mix with black and white. Growing up, you could have a very, very, very strong, influential presence from your white side, but as you get older, maybe your black side becomes more prevalent, and so you're changing. We only have the one life, and to spend all of it catering to make sure everybody else is comfortable, I cannot. Now, I didn't grow up in the 60s. I didn't grow up in these times where things were a lot physically tougher, if you stepped out of lines.
Right.
But in my day and age, it's just like I can't imagine saying that person's uncomfortable, I need to change my life.
Right.
Fuck them.
Exactly.
But
But the whole thing is, as has been the case throughout modern history, if a black person is famous, they get a lot more leeway as being enriched, because like you go down to all these exclusive gated communities and stuff, right? And it's like you see this whole area is white, but this one athlete and his family have no problems because I'm watching you run the ball, I'm watching you dribble, I'm watching you knock the ball out of the park.
And you better not have no barbecues.
Well, it depends on who you invite. But no, the whole thing is that has been the case, whereas this person here is a known celebrity or a known athlete, then, they have a lot less problems moving into exclusive areas.
But really, if you really think about it, isn't that actually another way of saying shut up and dribble?
Exactly.
well, I was gonna come at it from the other side. Okay, so as black people, we can typically tell where we're not that welcomed. Typically. But now as for rich black folks, they can move in with less guff.
Complications.
Now,
that's the word I want to use.
Here's the question. As black people, do we got it fucked up? Because if that rich, affluent black family moves into the white neighborhoods, they get in easy, but it seems like we tend to look at them like they turning their back on black folks.
And I totally disagree with that train of thought because...
But do you think that's a train of thought? I know I didn't just make that up. Okay, I was like...
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. And I look at it like, okay, for example, when my parents moved out here, got this place, I lived downstairs. But when I saw what my younger siblings were going through, the first thing that came to my mind was, hey, this is fucked up. We already integrated, not once but twice. Why should they have to go through it?
Sure.
Why should we always be the pioneers?
But
Which was my question. I was like, how long are we gonna be like we're the pioneers? But also, if you don't pioneer, nothing
happens.
changes.
There's no progress.
Right.
The pioneers are the progressive people.
and
They're the ones that have the guts to say, I'm planting right here and you ain't gonna stop me.
See, and I think that right there is that defining line for a lot of people because, again, what I talk about, you have one life. You go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, that stance you take, people died because of that.
That's right.
That's right. So my question, because everybody ain't about that, I'm about to die for you life. The thought is romantic. It's beautiful to say, I love my people so much, I'll die for them. Jesus did it. It's very romantic. But when you put foot to ground, just as a regular person who wants to live and just have a good life, but people are saying, well, you can't. When is, like, I want to know what that switch is. Be like, you know what? You can shoot me in my face right now, but I'm not moving. Then death happens. And then what? Yeah, everybody after you is good, and that's a great process, but I just can't. Maybe I'm selfish. Like, I can't, like, I want to fight, but I don't want to die for all this.
Right.
I don't know. I guess that's a choice you got to make.
But you know what? That's a good thing, because for me, looking at you as my son and knowing what I went through to get to this point, I see it as progress that you can say that.
Yeah.
That you can have those feelings, because that means I did my job to progress our family.
Did.
Exactly.
So then am I failing? Because I'm like, fuck y'all niggas. Not y'all. but and it might be this. Now, I'm sure I'm wrong on a maybe percentage of accounts on this, but back in 60s and 70s, there was at least somewhat, when you talk about the civil rights movement, there was some camaraderie to an extent, it seemed like, amongst black folks. That there was this big problem looking at us, and even though we have our individual things and we be doing stuff, we kind of got to band together to try to fight against this. It seemed like there was a bigger stand back in the 60s and 70s when it comes to civil rights and things like that. When you get into today's society, there's still stuff going on, but that it doesn't seem like that cohesive unit, us as a community need to stand together.
Right.
And so when you take that away and it's just individuals, it's like, I'm not finna stand up and get shot all up for y'all.
But the whole thing, the whole thing is, you also have to take into consideration what part of the country you are in. Because as much as people say, oh, the South is no.
Oh no, the South's still the South.
No. As far as I'm concerned, it hasn't made the strides forward to accept people as opposed to dividing them by color, by ethnicity, by anything. That cohesiveness, that everybody, like Rodney King said, why can't we all just get along? Well, that shit ain't happening. And there's still places now, examples with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was one of the greatest golfers ever, and there was still places in the early part of his career that he couldn't play. Okay, golf courses that were, exclusively white. And he could, and he was like a world-known figure. He was just kicking the hell out of whoever grabbed the golf club and teed up against him. Okay, but until he got to be, really, really famous and rich, and doing all of the, promotions and commercials and stuff. By the way, him and Nike finally broke. After 27 years, I think they supposedly mutually agreed that he wouldn't represent him and represent them anymore. But things have not changed as much as the media and a lot of people are trying to make us believe. Things haven't changed that much. There's still places, even in this area that we are in, that you won't find a lot of black people.
Not only that, but there are places, I still remember this year, right now, I remember the place we couldn't go was Des Moines, Burien, and Tacoma. If you weren't living on the base in Tacoma, your butt was grass because they was coming after you. And that was 10, 12 years ago still.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if it's going on now.
10, 12 years ago from now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that might be gang
Well, the thing
stuff.
is-
Like if you're a Crip and you go to Tacoma, yeah, them Bloods gonna get on your ass.
No,
but
no, 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 no,
but
no, 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 no.
10, 15 years ago, what do you mean?
There was still.
I'm 38. I've been in Tacoma.
There was still. But in those days, all the black people lived on the hilltop.
Okay, you say those days. You just said 10,
No,
12 years. No, I'm talking about, you said 10, 12 years ago. That was 2007 or something. That was not, that wasn't, it wasn't that bad.
The thing is, it's as bad as it was. Only it's more under wraps, more underground. You know, you still have systematic racism.
I agree with that.
Okay, but now it's not as prevalent because people are concerned about their image. So now, if you're trying to be in the public eye and you are described as a racist,
Yeah.
or and a lot of other ists, but if you're described as a racist, people will not want to associate with you in public.
Right. And it's little
But
things.
underneath, there's still a lot of shit going on.
It's little things. It's like I worked with this lady who had a bit of a following, but she was very racist. She didn't think she was.
Of course.
She didn't think she was, but she thought that Asian folk were only good for one thing. And so, consequently, her and her pals and her husband, they hung out at a Chinese restaurant because they liked the food, but they thought them people was only good for that. It wasn't good for working. All it was good for was that.
Not to sound racist, they didn't think they was good at math?
No.
Yeah.
Man.
See, and
I thought that was the thing she thought they was good at.
and that's the whole thing. You know, you have stereotypes, and people believe the stereotypes,
Well,
or they don't believe the stereotypes.
Now, just because something's a
or they help-
stereotype,
But
does
you
that
know
mean it
what?
ain't true?
Or yeah.
Ah!
In my mind,
Okay.
But you know
stereotype
what?
is
You know
like
what the worst thing was for, you're talking about making progress and black people can't do this and can't do that. The worst thing that happened in the last 50 years was integration. Because integration, although there was progress, it wasn't a lot of progress.
it was false.
Because those people back in the day,
It was false.
like my grandfather that had businesses with his brothers and they catered and they made good money and they became, part of the elite and whatnot. But once integration happened, the businesses they ran that catered to black people disappeared. Or folks who had business sense said, okay, I'm going to go out west or to the Midwest. Well, they couldn't do that there because the people that were there didn't allow it and weren't enough black people for it to happen.
Well, you remember Tulsa?
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's stay on integration real quick because now it's like, well, what side are you? Because you said integration was one of the most terrible things, but
I didn't say it was. I said it was the worst thing that happened.
And you know
okay,
what?
not terrible, worst.
it-
Worst sounds terrible, worse than worse.
Worse.
Okay, well, okay, one of the worst things that happened. But then you also say, you standing on business for equality, meaning I can go to where you can go. So do we want to go or do we? See, I think that's honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things in the black community is what do we as a now. Individually, we all gonna want different things. But as a people, what do we want? Do we want to be able to go and do everything with everybody because we're equal? Or do we want to be separate and be like, we're gonna do our own shit because this is how we are profitable? You can't have, you can have both, but you can't have both and complain about both.
Okay, I'm just pointing something out. And you said, is this what we want? Well, that cohesiveness that you talked about, that people being together, that was what was going on back
I'm with
then.
you.
Sure.
That's where that disappeared. And I give you a great example. A family, part of our family. they integrated a section of Washington D.C. Hadn't been a black family there ever. They moved in there, right? And they went to school there. They endured the rocks, the broken windows, the spray paint, the whole nine. I mean, they went through all of that. Now the parents died. Now the children went on, and the children are my age. Okay, we got one that's like he actually owns an oil company, and they actually do business with the Arabs. Another one is a publisher in New York, publishes a paper, been publishing for years. Another is a fashion designer, like our cousin that was here last night. We was just talking about that. And another one is a land commissioner, a woman in Maryland. I mean, these folks were like this, but now they spread out, and I think they've done real well for the cause of integration and showing that black people got brains, black people got this, they can do that, but they started out integrating. They came from all black community, they integrated, they took all this shit that happened, and they progressed.
So you're confusing me. So is integration good or not? I'm saying, because again, we say we need black businesses, we have that camaraderie. I am with and get that.
Right.
But also, if we gonna integrate, there ain't no black thing. It's everybody.
Right, but the task is to get everybody to come to your black business, because those stereotypes we talked about area a lot earlier.
You just sound like a southern rapper. It's okay.
or alive and well. Those stereotypes. So we got to fight those stereotypes over and over again.
Oh, stereotypes. That's how we got. Okay.
Yeah.
My original question on stereotypes is it a see? I think there's a stigma with the word stereotype, because if it is something that, let's just say a race or a culture of people, if it is something that typically does happen, is it a stereotype, or are we just saying that's something that happens but they're making fun of it, so we want to deny it?
Well, the thing is...
So for instance, fried chicken. First of all, everybody loves fried chicken. Let's just get that out there. If you like meat, most likely you like fried chicken. But the stereotype is black people love fried chicken.
Yeah, but you don't think black people made Colonel Sanders all the money he made. So white folks had to be buying that chicken because he was in an area where there were not a lot of immigration, whatever. But I'm just saying,
forget the Colonel.
Everybody loves chicken, but stereotypically, that's a black thing.
Why?
No, fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Because white folks control the media.
See, but is it a lie that we like chicken?
No, it's not a lie.
But we think they're making fun of us, so we don't like it.
Possibly that could
Okay,
be.
so what is the
But basically,
pendulum?
Basically, the deal is this: in what is defined, I guess, as a stereotype, is that every person of this particular ethnicity, race, does this, likes this, and it relates mostly to them.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah.
Because just because your experience with this race of people or this ethnicity went wrong, you're going to say, oh, well, all of them are like that. And that's not true.
Okay, here's the Webster definition.
Yes.
A widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. I think, and they underlined it, which is good. That word, oversimplified.
Oversimplified.
I think that definitely.
But you know what? When I think of chicken, fried chicken, you know what I think of? Watermelon.
Well,
fried chicken and watermelon.
Now, why? Why exactly?
Because that's a stereotype that comes to mind when I hear that.
Yeah.
And I know it's not true, but that's what I think of.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, and I guess what I struggle with, because I mean, as soon as you said watermelon, of course, the image of black face, big
Sure.
lips with a thing of watermelon.
Exactly.
That-
On the chin.
Yeah, that absolutely comes to mind, and that's complete bullshit. I don't like that.
With the
I hate that
with
comes
the
to mind.
drumstick in your hand.
But you have
Excuse me. Now, take away the making fun of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just look at. God, I hate to sound like I'm on the complete opposite, but let's just look at the fact of walking in. I like to taste the fried chicken. I like to taste the watermelon. I don't like how you're presenting it,
Right.
but it's not a lie that I like it.
Nope.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
You're not alone.
You know? So, yeah, I guess it is on the, kind of like the word nigga, how it has a negative connotation, but we decided that we were going to put this meaning on it. So we use it in a different term, just so they can decide, well, we want to use that term to make fun of them. They, you know.
Or put them down.
Yeah, or put them down, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. I feel like that's kind of what it is, and it kind of leads me back to Rodney King. Like, why can't we all, like, why are we doing this? Of course, it's all the power, you know, struggle. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't like stereotypes. I don't like the connotation because it always has a negative connotation.
Exactly.
But I also be like, I do some of the things that are, quote, stereotypical, and I'm not ashamed of it. I don't like the way you're talking about it, but I ain't ashamed of it, you know? So,
No,
anyway, that's some stuff beyond my mind.
No, but the thing is, you know, all of the stereotypes, food-related stereotypes, the only people eating watermelon are not black people.
That's true.
Otherwise, that industry would definitely not be
When
as big as
When
it
they started
is.
cutting the watermelon up in little cubes, I was like, that's white folk. What you talking about? Cuban man.
and then you know the fried chicken thing or whatever. You know, how come it can't be chicken in general? Why is it just fried chicken?
Why is it when you go to the
You know.
corner store run by the Koreans, they always have a case full of fried chicken?
Well, okay, actually, I heard
There
from
you
a
go.
podcast. I don't know how true it's a podcast, but
Right.
you know, during the Korean War, and then the black soldiers that was over there. The rumor was that they was showing, you know, the women and, you know, the ladies of the night, or, you know, whatever, they go do their thing, but they would be frying chicken. They'd show them how to do it.
Right.
So the theory is that that's how, you know, some of the Asian folks learned, and then they came over here, and then corner stores started popping up, and they had the best fried chicken
That's right.
in the neighborhood.
But the whole
what they
thing
say.
is, it's like in this area, you know, you have a lot of little delis at the corner stores and stuff. And there's one store that the white folks that I have it associated with, when you mention it, they go, oh yeah, that's the best fried chicken in town. That is run by African immigrants. So, you know, and then the other one is, I believe, Asian on Beacon Hill, for those of you in the Seattle area.
Are you talking about on the shell? The shell
Yes.
up there?
Yes.
Boy, they had some gizzards up there.
I see. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they have learned the recipes that are most appealing, and that's what the way they prepare the food. The other one is Kingway and Jackson. That's African immigrants, and I mean, I've talked to white folks that live way out in the burbs. Man, when I was in town, we was working on, you know, I work construction, so, you know, I tell these guys they live way up north, but when they was in town and they was working, they would go and get that fried chicken.
Indeed.
It's the best, you know, but that's not like, okay, only black folks know how to fry chicken, you know, plus, you know, why is it just fried chicken? There's so many ways that you can prepare chicken. So, you know, they don't, all that doesn't come into play. It's just when you want to put somebody down or talk bad about somebody, then you get something, you put it up there. It's like, well, everywhere I go in the black neighborhood, everybody's eating fried chicken. I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
You know, and the thing is,
I agree.
you have some amazing black chefs that cook
Other stuff.
exotic foods and do it better than the people that taught them how to do it. So I mean, you just can't say, well, all white folks do this, all black folks do this, all Mexican folks do this, all Asian folks do that. You just can't just make that blanket statement, because there are so many people that, I mean, just like, okay, why is it that, here's a stereotype, a lot of the young white kids want to be black. They dress black, they talk black, they listen to black music, right? So, I mean, now I'm not going to say, well, hey, all the little white kids that I ever see want to be black. That's, is that not stereotypical in that instance?
Well, it is, but it's also paradoxical, I guess you'd say, because on one hand, as always, as it's been since way back in slavery days, the black culture becomes mainstream. They adopt the best of, or what they think is, and it becomes part of the mainstream. Before you know it, it's integrated, and you don't realize that where it came from. You think it's just American, and it is just American, but it's been influenced by the black subculture. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's look at the thing, the news thing. It's like, okay, we're gonna get behind this white guy because he does this as well as the black guys, like Vanilla Ice.
Pat Boone.
Pat Boone was on. Well, Pat Boone recorded in Motown. So I mean,
Hey, just a little quick aside though. Talking about music or dancing, I'm gonna just keep it to those two. Because clothes, anybody can put on a pair of jeans and wear it how they want, whatever.
Right.
But when you talk about actual skill of an individual and putting that out into the world, and then having not a stigma, having a blanket put on what you do. And it being said, man, he's good for a white guy in a black space. Is that fair? Because I especially look at this in music, because a white dude, take Alan Stone. Y'all ever heard Alan Stone? That's a badass white. That's a badass white boy.
Of course.
I know. I feel like I'm contradicting what I'm about to say because I say he's a badass white boy, but that's part of. When somebody who is, you can see you are not part of my culture, just in your origins.
Right.
But they do something that our culture typically does and is masters at.
Right.
When you have somebody that's not in the culture and their culture are not masters at this specific thing, and someone comes up with the skill to actually do it, I, as a musician, am intrigued by that, because I'm like, yo, they got a talent that anybody could have, but they have it, and they have a different skin color, and that's something we don't typically see. I am intrigued, but a lot of times when we look at that, no, we're giving the white people the credit. We're like, giving them credit because there ain't no other white people here in this space.
Right.
They can hang, and so I guess for me, I always looked at music and dancing. I looked at that as like, why are we shitting on them, talking about they're trying to steal our culture, when obviously can't nobody in their culture really do it like that.
Hey.
They've got your attention, but we as black people, it seems like a lot of times we choose to say, no, you're stealing our culture vulture, this is only for black people. And I'm like, we might be the best at it, but there are some fucking dope people out there.
Right. And I, again, paradoxical, because if you go back, way back in the day when one for the money, two for the show, rock and roll came out.
Elvis.
It wasn't white folk, rock and roll, it was black folks.
Yeah.
They incorporated that into the American culture,
Yeah.
and it became mainstream, became white.
It became white. Yeah, I agree with you.
So when groups like Living Color or Funkadelic back in the day come out, it's like, wow, they're doing that kind of music. How did they learn that? They're not white.
And I see what you're saying. I absolutely do.
Hey, you got black opera singers. You got black musicians in philharmonics and orchestras all across the country. And that's not okay. You're gonna say, oh well, this music is white music, so black people shouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah,
So it's the same. It's the same thing the other way around.
Yeah.
It's about what God gave you and what you do with it.
because it comes from here and here.
Yeah. And which is why I take such a stance to that. I'll be like, man.
Hey, you know, it's just like Eminem, Macklemore. You know.
Now Macklemore, he got a couple songs I like. I don't really,
but
lyrical wise, I don't think he's the greatest. But when you talk about,
we're not talking about greatness or great or what. We're talking about the person that is
Hall & Oates was really good,
making a living at doing something that the overall society, for instance, might say, oh, well, he's doing black music. Or it doesn't matter.
I sincerely don't get that. Yeah. I hear him talk about Eminem, and then I'd be like, his songs ain't in the club. People don't be banging Eminem. That's because he's not trying to be you.
That's right.
He was never trying to be a gangster rapper. He was not talking about bling. He talked about his white problems.
Yep. In one song, lyrically, he said something about I'm just like Elvis, taking black music and making it and becoming wealthy. One of his own lyrics.
Yeah, and
that's paraphrasing, but I mean that's what he said, and it was like, it's not about this music or that. It's about music.
It's about music.
It's about what God gave you and what you do with it.
I'm telling you, I don't understand how you have two musicians, like a black one and a white one, and they're both playing, and the white one does something dope, and I just cannot see the black one like, man, you can't do that. You white. Stop. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I know. Creativity to me, and I know this is kind of taking a hard left turn, but creativity ain't got no damn color.
Nope.
It ain't got none of that. It's what is inside of you.
Yep.
Like,
it's a human thing.
And so for people to take things, and I take the arts and all it, all of its encompassing, I take all that stuff very seriously. Right. And so people that really go on rampages talking about disrespecting of our culture because you're not black and you're doing something good at it. It's like, that's cornball shit to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't like racism.
And then the whole thing is, it's just like, it's a really big deal when the person, this woman here has gotten into the premier ballet company, and she's the first one that put in the work and made y'all recognize her. Mm-hmm. There's probably quite a few young women who have skills that were developed in the correct way, could be as good as she and the white ballerinas and stuff. Opera singers.
You know what? Here's something a lot of people don't know. I don't know how it was in New Orleans, but in Asheville there was the Plaza Theater, and then down the street was the Strand Theater. The Strand and the Plaza, we could only sit up in the balcony.
In the balcony, absolutely.
But the Strand was the black theater. And the Strand, twice a week, would have opera. Mm-hmm. And my mom would take us because she wanted to be sure that we got something other than whatever the hell was on the radio. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And those were the first live musicians I remember seeing. Because at church all we had was an organist. You couldn't really see him because I was too short. But
and that's the thing, being kids, being influenced, and I know your guys' fan base is a little older than probably the kids' age that I'm talking about, but hearing something for the first time, whether you're a kid or an adult, hearing something for the first time or seeing something that you've never seen before, and it does something to you, it clicks a switch or whatever, that can happen to anybody at any point under any circumstances of what's going on. And the fact that the general, God, I hate to call my people out, generally speaking, black population. Now, I get we've had a lot of stuff stolen. We've had so much more stolen than I care to list off as a culture.
I think America is one thing.
Right. But it just seems to me to spend all your time and energy in life hating that somebody else is doing something as well. Now again, I'll put in the caveats. A lot of times that equals we don't get the credit we deserve.
Certainly.
You know, we don't get the recognition. I get that. There was a thing at TikTok so a couple years ago, a black girl did this dance and it blew up. A little white girl, you know, as they always do, they copy the dance. That's what TikTok is. You copy and you share. A little white girl copied, shared. Hers blew up. She got put on TV, in games, teaching anything. And the little black child who created the thing was sitting there with nothing. Is that right? Absolutely not. So I understand that side of it. The only problem is when you take it even to a grander scale, like music, and it's something shared for the world that we can all enjoy, but the only thing you can think about is that person's white, they shouldn't do this.
Sure.
They didn't say nigga, did they?
And a lot of times, and a lot of times when you hear a record for the first time, or hear a song for the first time, and you don't know who's singing it, people are like, "Oh wow, that's pretty dope," and then they find out, "Oh, it's a white guy." Now all of a sudden they don't care for it.
I'm gonna tell you who that helped though. That helped Robin Thicke. One of Robin Thicke's first songs was with Lil Wayne. And they didn't put a video. I watched the thing. It was like, no, for my first song, he's like, I chose not to do a video before we released the single. Because to all untrained ears, that song dropped and was like, yo, who's this dude? This is a new dude. Oh. And then when the video dropped, it was like, yo, that's a white boy.
Yeah.
But the song kind of dope though.
I tell you somebody else.
You remember the Righteous Brothers?
Yeah, I remember this. I got an even better one. There was an album that came out. The cover was maroon, and there was a clown in a box coming out of the box, right? It was called Show Your Hand.
I have
it. It was the Average White Band. And we thought, even though they call themselves the Average White Band, we said, them some niggas trying to be smart. That's exactly what we thought.
What's that?
They had one brother in that group.
If they didn't say the lyric, play that funky music, white boy, I'd have thought they was black.
Yeah. That was Wild Cherry.
Yeah, it was Wild Cherry.
It's amazing. But yeah, it was like when Aaron Neville first did Tell It Like It Is.
Tell it like
people weren't sure because he's fair skinned. So when they first saw it, they said, "Oh, is that a white dude?" No, that's Aaron Neville, the Neville brothers. Because we were in New Orleans, so we knew about the Neville brothers. But then when that song came out, I had my family we had moved up here, and they're going, "This Aaron Neville." I'm going, "Oh yeah, his brother," because they was famous for two things: thugging and making music. Okay.
Sounds like today's music industry.
They were doing what it took for them to survive in their mind. But also they were very talented as a family. They all played instruments and they sang, and then they had a career as the Neville brothers. Then Aaron made that song and people couldn't figure out because first of all, they said, well, the lyrics and whatever, that could be a white dude, blah, blah, blah. And then the other people were going, no, that is a brother. That's Aaron Neville. But if you weren't from a certain area, you didn't know who Aaron Neville was.
And I'm gonna be honest, if I was a white I'm gonna say a white person. But I still had my voice and the way I do music.
Sure.
I would absolutely exploit that.
I don't see
Because
why not.
well, if I had the understanding of how the black community worked, I'd be like, listen, music. I'm gonna get you hooked on the voice first.
Hey, but I'm like, Thick. I'm not gonna make a video until
Exactly.
the song tells me whether it's gonna be good, whether it's
And he
gonna
was-
be a hit or not.
And his career,
And
he
what-
was winning until he let Miley Cyrus twerk on him.
No,
Then
well.
it was over for that. But
And then they got sued for that Marvin Gaye,
Yep.
Marvin Gaye thing. But
anyway, okay. Whatever.
But yeah, you know, as should be dealt with, we're all humans. Period. You know,
Feeling like
and we should share our gifts and not care where your ethnicity is, where you're, you know, because you have great rappers, Pitbull, Mexican, you know, and they have a whole Latino rap scene.
Oh man, Latino rap scene
So I mean,
was
you know,
popping a couple years ago. I don't know how I was doing
but
that.
anyway,
They're
that
right.
time, there you go.
And I just like to say, speaking of Latino, Tono Negron. I know you know who that is?
Tony Negro.
Hey!
Yeah.
Okay, Tono used to be part of Deliverance once upon a time, but that's another story. Anyhow, we got to get the heck out of here. It's time to go, and it's time to hit that cool breeze, and hopefully we don't get no snow.
That's true, but there's definitely gonna be some cool ass breezes.
There's definitely gonna be cold.
Oh, it's gonna be cold.
They talking 21 degrees.
16.
They was talking about somewhere on the ocean where the gust was 112. We're talking almost a hurricane.
3 of them hit me in the face yesterday.
Anyway, y'all, thanks for tuning in and keep on doing it and like us and share us and subscribe to us. And we can be found on Say It Loud podcast on YouTube. We can also be found on our segment is called Old Black Men Conversation.
Oh.
And are we going to do
And the Say It Loud Patreon.
and then Say It Loud Patreon to subscribe.
You'll get here.
Okay, come here.
I tell y'all what we talking
We're gonna have some help here. Our producer, director, and all-round good guy has a few things to add.
So you guys, thank you for tuning in. Like Cliff said, the Say It Loud YouTube page, Say It Loud Podcast Network YouTube page. Please go subscribe there. They are called the Old Black Men Conversation, and we are rebooting the Say It Loud Patreon page.
There we go.
These guys, along with their friends, are going to basically be spearheading it. We are going to drop every Friday. We're going to drop a new episode, okay, on the Say It Loud Podcast YouTube. Every Friday, a new episode. Then every Monday, we're going to upload a bonus episode on the Patreon page. Okay, so again, it's Say It Loud. Say It Loud /Patreon. Okay, you want to go there, sign up. We have like 5 different tiers, starting at $5, ending at $25. It's a monthly subscription, but you will get basically twice the episodes with these guys, and they're all going to each have their individual segments. I think Cliff is going to be telling some jokes of the day. I think Gary's going to be doing, what is his thing?
Philosophical stuff.
His philosophy. He's going to give you a tip for the day. Pop, did you figure out what you wanted to do yet?
Yeah, I'm gonna be cool.
Oh, he's gonna be cool. Okay. Not only will we have more of them, but we also have more shows. We have the Say It Loud After Dark. We have a bunch of episodes that I'll be uploading there. We have The Difference Between Us, which is a podcast between myself, my older sister, and my younger brother. And we also have Like Father, Like Son.
Father like son.
Where the two of us are talking. So we have all that on the Patreon. So please join our Patreon page, subscribe, and get more episodes and content. All right? Appreciate y'all. Holla at you.
Peace.
Peace.